as much as we say, look, we're moving forward, whether you're 10-0 or 0-10 or 5-5, you just move on to the next game and the next circumstance. And history, if you were a good passing team, history doesn't make you a good passing team the next year. If you were a tough-minded team, history doesn't make you a tough-minded team. You got to go and do it again all the time. But certainly, yeah, there's saying that, David, obviously you can't have and don't want your team to have amnesia to that. That you are who you are. And we want those guys to have a good grasp of who they are and what they've done. And some of those while that was a very resilient, tough-minded, positive energy team, it wasn't provided simply by the players who have graduated and moved on. The players who are on this current team provided a lot of that too. Okay, so that's been pretty consistent. What isn't consistent is that some of the performers and some of the skills that are on that team have left, and they still have to be replaced. There's been a lot of positive energy. The practices have been intense, upbeat. There's a lot of, as they certainly, collectively, but when I say they, I mean individually, we could point out a lot of who they were, Jerry. They certainly proved last year. There's a lot of tough-minded kids in this group. And there are a lot of determined kids in this group. And there's a lot of very positive kids in this group, okay? To kind of speak in the, this was a term that I just wasn't using, hardly ever used, but I hear it used in other circumstances. The issues that we have aren't in terms of want to or effort or toughness. Okay, some of the issues that we have is, if I might use this word, our inventory is a little bit lower than what we expected at this time. If we looked at how some of these positions were going to be stocked a year back and looked forward to this date, the inventory is not quite the same that we anticipated that it was going to be. And so when that happens, teams go through cycles, and we're having to deal with those issues. But if it's not looking as good as we're accustomed to and what we want it to, it's not because the players don't have their full hearts in it. They certainly do. His notice was quite a bit more detailed than has been portrayed. But certainly to have multiple practices for a game as opposed to the normal 1 week, basically 3-day preparations is a positive. Really, regardless of whether he completes them all or it goes a little rough, it's been a positive in terms of his preparation and just get that many more turns. And he's kind of unflappable, Jerry. Sometimes that's, I've heard coaches before say that sometimes about their quarterbacks, the good thing about them is nothing bothers them, and bad thing about them is nothing bothers them, But that seems to be somewhat the case, and I think that's good in an early stage. He's able to shake off those things and get on with the next shot. He does a good job of that. He sees the field nicely. He just needs to keep building up his looks. Those plays that have been most repetitive in our system here since March the 27th or whatever, clearly he's demonstrated in most recent practices that those are the pictures that come forth to him the fastest and the cleanest. And the ball gets out of there pretty good. And he's got a good velocity on the ball. If you've had the opportunity to visit with Mark, you probably would see that by his personality, he seldom seems to be in other than a comfort zone. He's pretty comfortable, laid-back guy. So Mark's been with us for quite a while. It's not like we just picked up a new free agent, and everybody's got to get to meet him. So I'd say certainly towards one individual, but more than anything, that the players are rallying around each other. You know, there's more than, this is one out of 21 guys out there. You know, he plays one position, but there's a lot of other guys play some other positions too, that their position counts equal towards what we need to get done. A lot less schemes than was the case in the past. Not a team that's going to scheme the offense dramatically, but sound, very sound in what they do. Probably a very high volume of man coverage. Going to try to prevent soft throws, make the receivers win. David, a lot, and I say this very positively. You know, they got a good plan, and we hear these days sometimes people referring to the game that we watch as basketball on grass. You know, and then that's kind of what it is. And Thad Lewis is the point guard, and they're running the fast break. And if it was in Cameron Indoor Stadium and it was their equivalent of it, you'd probably hear the coach standing on the sideline yelling, push the ball, push the ball. That's what it is. Get it out, get it moving, okay, get it out into space, and get it out to places before the defense can get there. I mean, it's the same thing as a guy pulling the rebound down and the coach yelling, push it, and throw it up the floor before the defense can get there, and score an uncontested basket. Get it out into spaces before the defense can get there, and score an uncontested throw, and have enough inside game that if the defense spread themselves out to accommodate that, then you play the equivalent of half court and slam it up inside. So it stretches the field as wide as it can go from sideline to sideline with the ability to go all places with the ball. So the defense is just stretched all across the field.